Welcome to my AvoCuddle review. First off, I want to say if you like content like this and want to see more, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. That subscriber number really helps me out when I contact developers and try to get access to their games. So go ahead and click that button for me. It helps me out a lot. First off, I want to say that I really enjoy indie games. One great thing about indie games is you never know what you're going to get when you first start playing one. There are many people all around the world with all kinds of cool ideas, and with Steam and Unity and engines and platforms like that, it's very nice to have developers have the ability to go ahead and share their ideas with the whole entire world. When you go ahead and buy a AAA game from like Ubisoft, if you say this is a Ubisoft game, you know what you're going to get. It's going to be an open world game that's a collectathon that opens up after every few missions. You know what you're going to get if you get games from developers that you already know. But with smaller game developers, indie game developers like the developer of AvoCuddle, you really don't know what you're going to get. And I think that's a really great thing about indie games. Two of my most played games in my Steam library are indie games. Actually, Risk of Rain 1 and Risk of Rain 2. I've played them more than any game out of my entire Steam library. If you haven't checked those out, go ahead and check those out. But sometimes you get an awful indie game when you get one, like AvoCuddle, this game right here. The premise of this game is really cool. You're an avocado. Your girlfriend is captured and you have to go run and find and chase her and capture your girlfriend back. This is basically the story for Mario. It's Mario. You can't really mess this up. It's Mario but with avocados. That sounds really cool to me, and that's what really intrigued me when I started playing this game. When you start playing this game, you're actually met with some beautiful graphics and some nice music. Now, the music does sound like it's stock music, but it doesn't sound like Muzak. You know that shitty music that you hear when you're in an elevator or in a restaurant? The music sounds like it's stock, but it's still beautiful music, and the art goes along with it very, very well. And then you start a new game and you hear some voiceover narration talking about the game. And the lines in this narration are fantastic. They're recorded very nicely. And I want to give props to whoever did the voiceover for the narration, because honestly, it's probably one of the best parts of this game. When you start hearing it, you already start to get kind of emotional, because this is a love story, after all, but between avocados. So it's really starting to get in this emotional feeling as soon as you start playing the game. And then once you get into the game, you also see some really nice artwork and, again, nice music. So far you have nice music, nice artwork, you have this great narration, and I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be a fantastic game. What can go wrong here? And so you learn about these two avocados that you can tell they're like boyfriend or girlfriend. And I'm getting pumped when I'm playing this game. I'm like, this game is going to be really emotional and it's going to be awesome. I want to take a second and say I'm not a gameplay is king type of guy. For me, what makes a game is the overall experience. One of my favorite games, Heavy Rain, has really shitty controls. Actually, all of David Cage's games have really, really bad controls. Probably some of the worst controls in the gaming industry. But those games are fantastic. The story, the music, everything else fits together to make the game a great experience. So if a game has bad controls but everything else is fantastic, I can forgive some of the controls if they're not absolutely horrible. My point is, gameplay isn't everything to me if the other aspects are good enough to carry the game. So back to this game. So I'm playing AvoCuddle, and I'm about to get emotional when these characters start their dialogue, and they're hugging, and then they get into a fight. And they get into a fight over one telling the other to eat a piece of chocolate. Look, I'm fine with games with silly premises. The idea of just playing as an avocado is a pretty funny premise, and I was really stoked to get into that. But if the execution isn't there, then it really doesn't matter what the premise is. Having the characters fight over one telling the other to eat a piece of chocolate feels just lazy to me. I think you could have made that into a funny story, but just one telling the other to eat a piece of chocolate, and then that's why they get into this huge fight. It just seems like lazy storytelling to me. And that's it, folks. That's the world building that you get at the very beginning of this game. I want to take a moment and say there's nothing wrong with being a non-native English speaker. I work with non-native English speakers every day of my life. I also speak Chinese as a second language, so I know that learning a language is really tough. But if you make a game that has dialogue, you need to have it reviewed by a native speaker. The dialogue and other text in this game is just really strange. It's obviously done by someone who isn't a native English speaker. Now, that wouldn't be a deal breaker if it wasn't for the game's price, but I'm going to get to the game's price in a second. Alright, so back to this game. I was getting pretty emotional from just seeing two avocados hugging, and the music and the art was really getting me feeling really nice. But then when I started reading that dialogue, that wonky dialogue, things started really going downhill from there. So the two avocados get into a fight and you go and get your first gun. This works as a tutorial section to show you how the game is played, and this is really where you start to see the pitfalls of this game. You get your first gun, and I understand that the first weapon in most games isn't supposed to be all that great. But this weapon is so awful that I didn't even want to use it. The game clearly states that this gun is a short-range weapon, a short-range gun, right? But in reality, the gun is more like a melee weapon with the range that it actually has. You have to stand right next to an enemy to attack them. This should have been a melee weapon. I feel like the game developers were teasing me by giving me an item called a gun, but not allowing me to hit anything that isn't directly in front of me. And even when you do hit things, objects like a simple box or the most basic of enemies can take 5 shots to kill. It just takes forever to kill enemies in this game with a basic weapon. And some enemies won't even attack you while you're attacking them. You go ahead and just keep shooting them over and over and over, and they just sit there until they're killed. You have to sit there unloading shot after shot into generic enemy number 5 until it finally gets killed. This is with your original gun, by the way. So there are other weapons that do more damage, but I found myself using the original gun because I wanted to save ammo. That's what you do in a game. Alright, so after you get your gun, you go through the tutorial section, a little bit more story happens, and you go on to the next area. So then you get to the main meat of the game, and the main areas in the game are like Metrovania games. You explore the map until you come to a path that is blocked by something, and then that means your next goal is to figure out how to cross that path. And getting past these areas require you to backtrack to areas that you have already been. Backtracking is usually not fun. It's only fun if it's done correctly, and this game does not do it correctly. Alright, so the game has you going back and forth, opening up one section and then going to another section to open up the next section, back and forth while you're shooting these generic enemies that take way too many shots. And they're actually, one of these enemies looks like it's a ripoff from Plants vs. Zombies, the potato mine. I'm going to show you an image right here if I can find it, and I want you to tell me if there's some inspiration here or some blatant ripping off. So there I was about 30 minutes into the game, and I was thinking to myself, what is happening? When I first started up this game, even the menu screen had beautiful graphics and beautiful music and this cool idea of being an avocado. What is going on, I thought. And that's when a Steam achievement popped up, and everything just clicked at that moment. Okay, so making games is very difficult. I've built websites, apps, and games, so I can program, right? But for me, making games is by far the most difficult of all of those things. To make things easier, developers often use tools built by other people so they don't have to reinvent the wheel each time someone makes a game. And that is totally fine. But when I saw that achievement pop up, I recognized that the art in the image was art from a game framework called Corgi Engine. Corgi Engine is a framework that can be used in Unity. The framework provides all kinds of stuff that many 2D games have, like dialogue boxes, enemy AI, weapon logic, and all of that stuff. Again, it's completely fine to use tools like Corgi Engine, so you don't have to recreate everything just to make a simple platformer. But once I was able to tell this game was made by Corgi Engine, a framework that's already been created, and this was just kind of like coded over the framework, everything started to make sense. I don't know the developer personally, and I don't know the development of this game, but here's what I think's happened. I might not be correct, but here's what I think happened when this game was being made. I think the developer is a talented artist. Assuming most of the background environmental art was done specifically for this game by the main developer. The artist wanted to make a game using Unity, and the Corgi engine seemed like an easy way to make a game. A Again, that's completely fine. Many great games have been made with Unity and pre-made frameworks. There's not a problem with that. I'm not mad about that. But games don't half-ass it and then charge $15 for this game. I was lucky to get a review key from the developer, but if I paid $15 for this, I would have felt like someone just kicked me in the balls. It is absolutely insulting that this game is on Steam for $15. Enemies taking attacks and not moving, glitches that make me fall through the floor, weapons that feel like they do nothing, backtracking over and over and over and over, and then there's shoehorned mini games that are similar to Flappy Bird that are required for you to travel between different planets. Yeah, there are mini games. In my time playing, I only encountered 2 mini games, and these happened when I was traveling from one planet to another planet. And according to information about the game, there are more planets that you can travel to, so I assume you're going to have to do these mini games over and over. And these games just are not fun. These games actually look like a first project that a beginner would learn when they were just starting learning how to make games. That's exactly what they are. One is a Flappy Bird type game, and another one is just a dodge the objects type game. When I was playing these, I was thinking to myself, this is not fun. All of this really added up to make me really hate this game. I've played worse games. There are far worse games out there, but selling this game for $15 is absolutely insane. Most of the reviews currently on Steam contain broken English. Again, that's fine if your native language isn't English, but there is no way that someone paid $15 for this game and is leaving this game a positive review. I can't definitely say that the reviews on Steam are fake or paid for, but I do think something is fishy with them. Alright, so the conclusion on this game. Should you play this game? I've played worse games than AvoCuddle, but selling this game for $15 is an absolute slap in the face. If this game drops to $1 or maybe $2 and you want to say that you played a game where you can play as an avocado, then, and only then, should you get this game. Thanks for watching my AvoCuddle review. If you like this review, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Like I said, when I reach out to developers to see if I can get access to their game, the first thing they do is look at my subscribe count. And I'm going to need more subscribers because obviously this dev, if they make another game, they're probably not going to give me another key for their next game. So if you want to see more reviews like this and gameplay, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. I actually have another video of gameplay of this game. If you want to see just straight gameplay of this game, go ahead and watch that. It's on this channel. I'm going to try to put this up on the screen, and I'll see you guys later.